basically force you to do this. I mean, would you prefer to stay with you?
But the big news is no more quarantining, no more test to stay. And the days of sending an entire classroom home because one person was symptomatic or test positive, those days are over. We've been through that experiment. No longer are we going to be sending kids home, keeping them away from that essential experience of being together in a classroom, because we are now still dealing with the fallout of those decisions made when we had less information and there was concern in classrooms. But we now have 2 years of experience to know that children are safe in classrooms, and when they're not in a classroom and the learning stops, the traditional learning stops, it can be devastating for the well-being of those children. If a student or teacher is exposed, has a close contact who's exposed, and they don't have symptoms, they no longer have to go home. They will stay in school. And the CDC does recommend the wearing of a mask for about 10 days if someone's been exposed. So no more test to stay. What that means, if a classmate tests positive for COVID and your child doesn't have symptoms, your child can stay in school as long as they would wear a mask under those circumstances. That's what we're recommending. So that's good news. If a child does get sick, we still want to make sure that there's a smart approach. And, of course, if there's symptoms, you always want to be tested. And students should stay home. We recommend that they stay home for about 5 days and wear a mask as well. And if they have no symptoms after 5 days and test negative, they should go back to school. In certain circumstances, schools may want to opt for doing screening testing in high-risk activities, for example. Let's think about a choir where children are close together, a wrestling team. So we'll leave that up to individual schools to make that determination, but it is no longer recommended from the CDC or the Department of Health that there be this random screening either. Parents, it's a very different year. It's a very different year, especially if your kids are vaccinated. We do have test kits. We're trying to just draw down the anxiety associated with sending your children off to school this year, and it is a much better year.